And thank you for joining ITV News' Facebook Live. Today, we're going to be talking about the current storyline in Coronation Street, which is one of the show's most sensitive and complex stories to date. The show's character, Nathan Curtis, is currently on trial, accused of grooming a 16-year-old girl for sex. We're joined here with Chris Harper, who plays Nathan Curtis in the show, and Phil Lafferty from the charity Voicing CSA, who are going to talk us through the new campaign they're working on to help victims of sexual abuse. Hi. Chris, there has been both praise and criticism for tackling such a sensitive subject before the watershed. Do you think this is an important issue to air at this time, and what are your views for it being at this time of the day, really?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of people are worried about the timing of it, but by definition, it is a family subject matter, unfortunately. And the thing that's been an overwhelming response that we've received, and certainly I've received when people have approached me in the street and said, hey, you're him off Corrie, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's people then tell me about the way they've witnessed or they've actually been subject to abuse within their own families, and that due to it now being before the watershed, around the telly, when the family are gathered in the living room, you know, it's started a conversation. People are starting to get a sort of vocabulary like him. You know, it's just as simple as that. And not having the story just splashed across a tabloid with sort of, you know, derivative jargon talked about it, and actually playing out at quite a slow pace for a soap story, I think it's had a massively positive effect. That's certainly the feedback that we've been getting, and I think it's I'm really proud to have been part of it.
I mean, it's quite a difficult character to play. How did you prepare for such a role?
I was very lucky. Right from word go, I could see that he was a dark guy, and it was they told me they'd been working with charities already, and I spoke to police and social services and social workers and prison officers. But the real sort of life changer was meeting people like Phil and other charity campaigners, and then survivors and victims who were willing to share with me their own stories of CSA, which is child sexual abuse, or CSE, child sexual exploitation. And when you hear those stories, when you hear what people have been through, and it's absolutely devastating. The bravery they live with day after day on the other side of that. And the Coronation Street story is just part of a big push to sort of bring that sort of secret and shame-filled crime out of the shadows and shed some light on it.
Okay, let's take a look at Chris in action as Nathan in Coronation Street.
You know, you can always stay at mine. Anytime you like.
Really?
You're my girl, aren't you? You proved that today with the cops putting yourself on the line.
I'd do anything for you, you know that.
Yeah, I know.
What has the reaction from fans been like since this new plot twist?
Oh, I mean the court thing. Well, actually, the people who approach me have all been really positive about me. They hate Nathan, but they realise there's a difference, so I'm very grateful for that. But they absolutely all can't wait to see Bethany get justice. And I think what we've been able to see is that journey to justice, which sort of echoes the Bernardo's campaign and the NSPCC stories at the moment. It's going to be very difficult for Bethany, but people can't wait to see Nathan get what they call his comeuppance, but he'll never get quite what he deserves. But you know, we hope he'll be sent down. But it's going to be a grueling test on Bethany going to court.
And as you mentioned, you're working with Voicing CSA. Can you both tell us a bit about this campaign that you're working on?
Yeah. Basically, the mouse is somebody that's being abused. I spoke to Chris about my own experiences and everything, and that a lot of my life was spent scurrying around like a little mouse and all that. But with Voicing CSA, as that developed and everything, I started to speak out more and became more, if you like, more like a lion, and started roaring, basically, and joining up with other survivors and supporters, to sort of like work alongside or with the inquiry as much as we can, because we believe in the inquiry. There are people that don't, but that's up to them. But what we do is we believe in the inquiry at Voicing CSA, and one of the things, of course, is that people should engage with the inquiry, because we're talking about children today and children tomorrow and their futures, and we need that awareness raising, because what happened to me shouldn't happen to them. And so basically one of the strongest messages I send out is ask not what the future can do for your past, but what your past can do for your future, because it's what we do now with the inquiry going on that will affect the future of children and generations to come. You know, you hear about so many campaigns from years ago, and without those kind of campaigns going on and without those inquiries going on, then nothing would have changed. And we owe it to people to make a change. You know, we suffered our abuses, and we must use that for a positive message to ensure the future is safer.
Yeah, the independent inquiry is sort of part of the steps forward that are being taken, but there's still a lot of children being abused, there's still a lot of exploitation going on, and there's a lot of people who've been abused in the past who haven't been able to work towards justice, and it's really about prevention of future exploitation and abuse. So we've produced this animation the worst thing that can happen is when the inquiry closes in a few years' time, that anybody who it would have been applicable to goes, what inquiry? That we want people to know that there is one, and so we produced this animation just to go out online, and if anyone sees it on their Facebook or Twitter, I'd implore you just to spread it and retweet it and get it out there, so as many people as possible can see this call to arms, this lion roaring rather than the mouse.
Well, let's have a look at a clip of that animation now.
Where are you going? What are you scared of? I told you, I've got you. Don't you even care about me? I care about you. This can be our little secret. Mustn't tell anyone else. No! No!
Chris, what was it about your research into the role that made you want to work on this campaign?
I think it was the massive hearts that people shared with me, the stories that I was told, seeing the impact on people's lives that Nathan's and other perpetrators like him can have on their victims, and just seeing that this Coronation Street storyline was reaching so many people coming up to me just 4 or 5 times a day in the street, and most of those would at some point disclose to me that something had happened either to them or they'd witnessed it, and then to know of all the good that Voicing CSA are doing and the other charities that we're working with, but then also to see that a lot of people didn't know that there was something like the independent inquiry going on. So I just thought, well, other than bringing the face off of the telly along to it, what can I create? And I really wanted to make an animation to draw people's attention, and I'm hoping that this is just the first in a series of animations. We're working very hard with a group called Collage Arts, who are a charity based in Haringey, and they are trying to increase the diversity of people going into media particularly. So they and Slurpee Studios have teamed up with us to make this, and we're hoping to make some more as well, to just convey the message that people who've been abused, it's not your fault, you're not alone, and there is help out there.
And lastly, Phil, I mean, who is this campaign aimed at, and what do you hope to achieve in this campaign?
Well, the campaign is aimed at people who are saying they shouldn't have this storyline on Coronation Street. It's the people saying, couldn't happen to me, and their children are there watching with them, and it's raising awareness there. And with this animation that we've created, we're trying to get people to become more and more aware of what's going on and to bring those people out, because the last thing you want in 20 or 30 years' time is a child that's young today turning around to their parents and saying, you know, when that Coronation storyline was going out, that's when I was being abused. They need to be aware that it's not what it's not what they think they know about their children, it's what they don't know.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. I know it's not easy. Thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like to see more Facebook Lives, please click follow and like. Thanks.